You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Welcome back to our Options Insider interview series, coming to you live to tape here from the scenic and sunny Options Industry Conference, this year touching down in very sunny Palm Beach, Florida. And I'm pleased to kick things off this year with our old pal, been a little while since we chatted with him, Mr. JJ Kinahan, the CEO of IG North America, as well as the president of Tastytrade. JJ, welcome back to the network, sir.
Thanks, Mark. Always great to be here. It's got to be 10 years or so you and I have been doing these at the events. So
Probably.
I always appreciate coming back and seeing you and talking to your audience.
January was 18 years on the network, which is just wild. That's insane to say that out loud. But
when you were 9.
Yes, I was a brisk 5 when I started all this. But let's kick things off. What brings you down here this year? Is it just catching up with everybody? Are there specific agenda items or topics you're really looking forward to talking about? What brings you through the doors this year?
Well, they were nice enough to ask me to be the MC of a panel tomorrow talking about retail options growth, which is always great.
Why would they have you on that panel? I don't understand.
I have no idea, but that'll be fun. And to your point, the reason events like this are great is because you see all the people that you do business with in one place. You can do a little bit of speed dating, so to speak. That is, go meeting to meeting, do some stuff back to back. But, if you do 3 hours, you can get 6 really good meetings in, and it just saves you time on the back end. So it's well worth coming down. You have Commissioner Pierce from the SEC speaking today. She's always incredibly interesting. Want to hear what she has to say, not only about options, but about crypto.
She's the crypto mom, yes.
The crypto mom, but as again, retail clients trade so many different products. You want to hear what she has to say about all of them. I really respect her. I think she's a really, really smart lady. And so I'm looking forward to that. And as I said, just in general, getting a feel for what other people are looking at for what's coming down the pipe, obviously event contracts, et cetera. So it's just good to have these conversations to help as we plan for the future also.
Last year at this time, everyone was all hot and bothered by a couple of things, 0 day, which they clearly are, and also this year, I should say. And then Bitcoin options was the other hot thing. Everyone was debating, will they come? Will they come? Of course, we all know what happened. IBIT rolled out, took the options world by storm. You mentioned event contracts. Is that this year's Bitcoin options? Is that going to be the hot thing that everyone's fixated on? Is going to turn the options world on its head, you think?
I think that's number 2. I think the number 1 this year, to the point you just made, is still 0 DTEs, but in the equity names outside of...
Now you're teasing our audience. Now they're going to get excited.
Well, NASDAQ just filed something this week to trade them in the Magnificent 7 and one other stock outside that, only because they had very strict criteria, which I respect and appreciate, because there is going to be some risk in the individual names with 0 DTEs as compared to the ETFs, et cetera, just due to earnings and things like that.
So you think this is something we're going to see even this year, you think? I mean, this pilot with NASDAQ?
Well, they have 2, I believe it's, and please don't quote me on this, but it's approximately, I'll say that, 250 days before that has to be regulated, et cetera. So that puts us near the end of the year already. So I think it would probably be next year unless it gets approved significantly quicker. I don't think the probabilities are high for this year, although it could happen.
That's kind of been one of the outlets people have proposed for a while, some sort of limited pilot around hot names. Is that the way you like to see it done, or would you prefer it a different way?
No, I definitely think if we're going to go there, that's definitely the way to do it. these are the type, again, we don't know what the unforeseen things will be. And again, with individual equities, because there's news from an equity and it's the only thing affected by it, unlike, the spider where there's 499 other stocks that aren't affected by it. I think they're rolling it out this way. And again, really high cap, high liquid names is a smart way to go about this.
I thought that something like this would eventually happen. All these exchanges at the end of the day are for-profit public entities. Someone's going to bite the bullet and try to make this thing happen. Every year, our listeners are asking for us, is this the year we get zero-day NVIDIA, zero-day Tesla? Sounds like we're on the cusp of something interesting. The NASDAQ guys are coming up after you. I'll be sure to grill them about all of that fun.
They can talk in a lot more educated way in terms of filings, et cetera, than I can on that. But again, for us, we just have to make sure, as you know, we do a lot of education, as do you every day. And I'm sure you'll spend a lot of time educating your listeners on some of the risks that are inherent in this, particularly around assignment and exercise, et cetera, because that's the one area that I think has, I don't want to say most nervous, but want to make sure people really understand the implications of assignment and exercise, particularly after the close of business, when you have that exercise box still open for this product. But overall, I appreciate and respect the fact that they are going with a limited group of names.
Is zero day still a hot driver of interest for the Tasty crowd, or have they maybe moved on to other things? Or
no, I mean the volumes continue to be very good there. I would say, as comparison to some of our competitors, I don't know that it's as high a percentage of our business, but it's still a pretty high percentage of our options business overall. I think we do more multi-leg type spreads than most firms do. And so with that, that's all different variations of time. A lot of the multi-leg spreads take advantage of time decay. So people probably want to go a little further out in time to take advantage of that. But it's really interesting, Mark, to see. I think when zero DTEs first started, they were more of a speculative vehicle. Mm-hmm. And what we're starting to see is people use things like calendar spreads, rolling day to day. And it's really kind of interesting to watch how people have employed the strategies that they were using further out in time in a more narrow time frame, et cetera, but doing them in a smarter way with a calendar spread is a definite plan of something you'd like to see to go to a specific strike, or at least in that neighborhood. And so it's just kind of interesting to see how people have maybe done a 1 day, 10-day calendar spread and doing all the rolls in between.
That's how I knew the zero DTE thing was starting to gain traction. It was early on when they first listed them, and all of a sudden we started getting bombarded with questions about zero-day butterflies. Mm-hmm. And I said, zero-day, but why the hell would you do that? It makes zero sense. And then the more and more people started inundating us with it, I said, oh, this is actually could be interesting if done in an interesting way. So it does open the door, you're right, to strategies that used to be much farther down the turnpike to now do them in a very, very limited context. But you're joining me at a good time. We just got the numbers here for April. A hot month. Go figure. All it took was the kickoff of a global trade war. And we've got some hot volume. 24.3% was the final number for August in terms of increase from this time, April, from this time a year ago. 11.5% for index options, nearly 30% for ETF options, about 29%, 23% for equity options. These are wild numbers. The only thing that was down, weirdly enough, VIX futures. I guess no bid for VIX futures, 4.7% decrease. Even in a trade war, they can't trade VIX futures, which is kind of wild out there. But obviously, jokes aside, this is a pretty hot number. I don't expect it to stay at this level. But what are your thoughts? We talked about this before. We've done a few panels together over the years about this trend. I was cynical early on, back in the COVID days. I was like, this can't possibly last. Everyone's home trading. They got the app, nothing else to do. That's going to go away. We've all seen that has not been the case. What are your thoughts on this just explosion of volume? And can the tsunami continue, JJ?
Well, I think it's phenomenal. It's interesting. Yesterday, the OCC processed just over 40 million trades. And I said to a buddy of mine, I'm like, wow, 40 million. And it felt slow. And so, we're having regular days now, 60 million and above. It's really quite amazing to me. I think it shows, you and I have spent our careers educating people. And I think what it shows, I hope it makes you feel good. I know it makes me feel good, of the fact that so much of what we did for so many years, just trying to help people understand these products, is paying off. And so many other people, of course, are doing it. But to me, that's the biggest thing. People, to your point, probably took an interest in COVID. They were like, hey, here's something interesting. maybe I have a smaller account, so 100 shares of Apple is out of reach to me. But 100, calls or one call spread or one call is very much within reach. So they started to learn how to use the products in a better way. And as you said, going from maybe just speculating, buying it out of the money call, which is, let's face it, that's where most people end up starting, to now they are doing 0 day butterflies, et cetera, really starting to understand the products and how they work. And I think it's a great testament to the industry and so many of us who have spent a lifetime educating people because we understand how valuable this product can be. And I really think the more younger people have gotten involved, that's been the best thing to happen to this product because, again, they probably just by age have smaller accounts. I think the most underrated thing about retail traders, Mark, is how smart they are with their money. Think about it, in the years I traded on the floor, I never thought, do I have enough money to make this trade? But what retail investors do is they plan every time and say, okay, this is, $1,000 or $1,200. They have to plan out how much of their account they use on every trade. And I think that's underrated as how really, really smart they are.
I agree. They have definitely closed that gulf. I mentioned we started this 18 years ago. Back then, retail was here, the pros were here. There was a huge chasm in the middle. That chasm has very much diminished, which is a good thing.
Well, think about what you've done in those 18 years. So great credit to you. Think of the information gap is exactly what, as you just spread your hand and say one was here, one was there. That information gap is pretty much gone at this place. And I think that's the biggest thing that's happened.
I agree. Well, along those lines, we heard some bad news this past weekend. Our good buddy on the network was on for a long time. Alex Jacobson, big in the education side, passed away. And in his honor, I'm kind of just putting some questions to people about their thoughts about the state of options education. Alex, to me, was one of the last exchange educators out there. They don't really exist anymore. And I'm going to put it to all the exchange folks when they roll through this year. What can we do more as an industry to really kind of raise up this new crop of traders we have coming in? So you've been around the space for a little bit. You've seen a lot of options education. What are your thoughts overall on the state of education and maybe what can we do to improve it?
Well, I think, I spent my career doing a lot of it. I think we do a really good job as an industry, quite honestly. I just had a conversation with someone where I said, I don't think there's a single product out there that I'm aware of that has more education around it that's free and that's quality. And that's really amazing. I mean, you can always find people who have a different motive, but I think overall, I've always compared options traders to hockey players. That is, we're happy when people pay attention to us because a lot of people didn't for so many years. And so when they do, we want people to have a great experience. And so we spend so much time trying to educate, trying to make it a great experience. It's in our best interest that people are successful. Can we do better? Of course we can. At Tasty Trade, we do on our Tastylive side, which is our network, we do 12 and a half hours of live programming every single day. All we do is talk about ways to understand the market better, ideas, education, etc. So I think with that, Mark, there is great education out there. To your point about the exchanges, they have the options OIC. Is it OCC
OIC.
or OIC? I can never keep that straight. OIC, which has a lot of great free education sponsored by the exchanges. And so with that, our competitors do a great job. I think we do the best job. If I'm, I know that sounds a little maybe arrogant, but it's not meant to be. I just think of educating people every single day. So what can we do better? I think the zero DTE for the individual names will be a challenge for us because we have to make sure that people truly understand the risks there. And the other challenge I think that we've had in the education space, and I know you're running into this too, is in a TikTok world, how do you grab people's attention in 30 seconds to get them to want to follow up with the longer pieces that you're going to need to truly understand this?
Speaking of the audience, we asked them before we came down, what do you want us to talk about? All the hot things were there, 0 day, volume, everything else. But one of the things that kept popping up too was a 24-hour options trading. They're intrigued by it. They're seeing a lot of equity going that way. They're wondering if options are headed that way as well. What are your thoughts on that? Do you want it to go that way? Is it inevitable? And will we see it, you think, anytime soon?
Okay, we're rolling out 24-hour equity trading next month. We 24-hour option trading, I think, is inevitable, but I think it's a couple of years down the road. And the reason we'll see how the zero DTE goes. Obviously, for the individual names, I think this will be the biggest test to see how that goes. And again, I think the real challenge is going to be the liquidity after hours. That's a problem not only for the retail trader who wants to participate, but even for the market makers, they have to hedge that somewhere. So if there's not enough liquidity in the 24-hour equity space, there won't be enough liquidity in the 24-hour options. And I think that that's really where it goes. So again, NASDAQ rolling out these zero DTEs to me is the first step on getting there. And we'll see how that goes. And then the next, then the next conquest, if you will be 24-hour option trading. But I'd be shocked if it was within the next couple of years.
Well, JJ, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day here at OIC, kicking things off with us here on the network. Before we go, you got a lot of cool things in the fire over there at Tasty. What can folks look forward to coming down the pipe?
Thank you, Mark. Always appreciate that. As I said, we're about to roll out 24-hour trading. We're about to roll out a completely new interaction for our futures trading, which I'm really excited about. I think it'll make it much simpler for people to understand what they're doing. We just redid our mobile platform to make crypto trading much faster, much easier to understand. Again, obviously in a world that has switched more to mobile, as we just talked about, a TikTok world, if you will, in many respects. We put a lot of time and energy into our mobile devices. We'll continue to improve that significantly overall. And, because we know we need to, and we're also working on our charting to make that much more understandable. I won't say understandable, much easier to work with, and hopefully help people. If you think about our firm started by options traders, our whole world is probabilities. Didn't spend a lot of time on our charts when the firm was first built, something that we've continued to improve because, people find it very helpful. We have over 400 studies on our charts, and I think we're not known for our charts, but our charting package is fantastic.
And of course, getting all those charts to be intelligible on a small screen is another challenge in and of itself.
It's the biggest challenge for all firms, I think, because people, if I have this interaction on my computer, why don't I have this interaction on my phone? And to your point, how do you get that small screen so everything's very, very legible and understandable on that phone?
Well, JJ, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day, and we'll look forward to seeing how all this unfolds at Tasty in the coming months.
Thanks, Mark. Always a pleasure to be out.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.